these people would have the world know that the left wing is taking over.
Regardless of who you are, you need to abide by my ideologies.
Because we enjoy it, it just continues. Like,
yeah, we've had enough of fucking talking to each other. Episode 10. I'm gonna fucking spill this. Watch this. Watch the laptop.
We had planned to do something a bit more special for episode 10, but due to me being ill last week and Char being drastically unprepared, as usual.
What do you mean drastically unprepared? This is a Canon and Co, not just Canon, is it? You are part of this.
But yeah, Char doesn't come up with ideas, so he leaves everything to me.
That sounds really...
All he actually does is set up this mic and that laptop and the camera. Everything else is pretty much driven by me in regards to ideas and topics. And last week I was very ill, and I left it up to Char, and he came up with not a lot.
So your exact words were, do you mind if we skip the podcast this week? I wasn't going to do one without you, because I'm not that kind of person.
No, I'm more talking about some big ideas for episode 10.
Oh, for example, just because you're ill, you still had function of your brain, didn't you?
Yeah, I had an idea previously of a Q&A for all the fans where they could ask us questions, but Char hasn't posted anything about it.
So you fucking jumping at the opportunity either.
Well, Canon and Co, not Co and Canon. You should
you
pull your weight.
You set up the Instagram account.
I hate you, yeah.
So yeah, 10 episodes in, 10th anniversary. Who thought we would have made it this far?
Not me.
Look at us. Look at us.
Who'd have thought it?
Not me. To be fair, I've still got people that come up to me.
Come up to you on the street. Are you from Canon and Co?
Are you Canon from Canon and Co? Do you remember when we was at Chappie's thing the other week and his mate Gareth come up to us and I was like, mate, that's quite sick. I was like, I had no idea he watched it.
He actually came up to me and I then had to say, oh, this is actually Char whose idea it was, and all the same chat he'd just given me, he then gave to you.
We are local celebrities.
So I mean, this last week's been a bit depressing in terms of the news.
Fucking depressing, innit? Go watch the 9 o'clock news if you want to just get all upset and shit. On interesting news though, Elon Musk has just bought Twitter. Is it just, or did he buy it the other week?
No, I think it's just been actually finalised now, I think, last few days, week or so.
I don't use Twitter enough to know what goes on it, but obviously I see all the memes and things like that.
That's pretty much all that we use it for. You know, I'm in some Twitter chats that just get football memes and stuff sent in every day. But yeah, he has bought Twitter. He said he's going to do it for time, and it just kept not happening. And I kept just thinking, yeah, you're all chat. But fair play, it's happened. He sacked the CEO and cancelled his severance package because apparently when he was first rumoured to be interested in buying Twitter, the CEO spoke to him about it and said some not nice things.
Seemed a bit mean. Yeah, his feelings.
And so Elon bought them, sacked the whole board of directors, which was natural. I assume he was going to. You shouldn't always do that when taking over a company because you want their insight as well in terms of how to run the day-to-day. However, he was taking over Twitter because he thinks they run it terribly. And he's basically said that he wants to bring back freedom of speech on social media and yada, yada, yada. But he basically sacked the director and all of his staff and didn't give them a severance package, which I don't know how legal that is.
I was going to say, is that legal?
Well, the company decides a severance package, right? And if you own the company, you probably can then take it away, I guess. But there are certain, I mean, here in the UK, you're not entitled to a severance package, but depending on how long you've worked at the company, you're entitled to a certain amount of redundancy pay. So I imagine in the States, if it's similar, depending on what state it is, they probably were still entitled to a certain amount of redundancy pay, but the actual severance package, because severance packages can include a lot. So I think he just basically took out all of the stuff that wasn't actually necessary. So fair play to him. He's done it. Not sure why.
I think he's just like a walking fucking meme himself, isn't he? Very, very smart man.
He's South African.
Is he?
Yeah, I don't think anyone knows this. Yeah, he's South African.
What? Parents or he's...
No, he was born in, his whole family's South African. They come from like obviously British and Canadian descent, etc. I think his mother's Canadian descent, but he was schooled everything. He came to the States like when he was in university, so he actually grew up. His dad was part of the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, so all of that segregation stuff. They were involved in that, of trying to stop segregation and get Mandela out and all of that sort of crap. And I think that's probably how he made a lot of his money. Once that side won, I imagine he got given favourable contracts for work, etc.
Was he not like a child at the time?
No, I'm saying his dad.
Oh, his dad.
Because his family was wealthy anyway. He's not the only one. Yeah. His family were wealthy. Like that classic thing of the first company him and his brother set up, they paid...
So PayPal? PayPal was the first company they set up, wasn't it?
I don't know if that was the first one, but PayPal was one of them. Well, they actually set something else and then merged with another company to become PayPal. But the actual company they founded wasn't called PayPal. It was called something else. They then merged, I think, with another company and called themselves PayPal, or took over another company and called themselves like a rebrand. I don't think they actually set up PayPal as PayPal, but yeah, like when him and his brother set up their first business, their dad gave him like, I don't know, something like 50.
Full loan of $1 million.
Well, smaller than that, to be fair. And there's not loads that you can do with the sort of money he gave them. I think it was like $50,000 or something like that. I may have the figure wrong. But a lower amount. You can't, of course, conquer the world with 50k, but I'm sure it always helps to have family who are rich, because a lot of the time people who are successful have family money that they then use to set up these businesses, etc.
Yeah, I suppose you've got to take your opportunities where they come in. If my parents were fucking like multi-millionaires, I'd be like, yeah, I'll take you up, setting up a business, use your contacts and whatnot. But yeah, him buying Twitter, there's a fucking meme template in there of Elon Musk tweeted, and people just take the piss saying like, oh, now I bought whatever, I'm going to ban. Someone put, I'm going to ban like, do you know, have you ever did the keto diet? Someone can't afford it, put, I'm going to ban keto cunts putting anything up.
I'd second that.
But yeah, I can't remember the tweet. We're going to have to Google it. Let's get the porn. Shut the porn down quickly.
Single moose in your area again.
Yeah, I just kind of killed the story now, innit? It's mad. How much did he buy it for? Like 3.6 billion or something? Or was it? No, it was like 30 or
40 million.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, 40 billion. Sorry, I'm pretty sure. It's actually not difficult to Google things, Joe.
44 billion. $44 billion. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
That's mad. Like, what is he actually going to do with it though? Because like, I feel social media companies, you can't go in and just completely change things, like the way they work and shit like that.
Yes, he's sorry to go back. So PayPal, he set it up as something else, XCOM, which merged with Confinity and became PayPal. So it was something different. But his first company was called Zip2, and he said it was a software company with his brother, and it was acquired in 1999 for 307 million. So that's obviously how he then used that to start buying other things, etc., setting up other things. But yeah, he's a weird bloke. I would say that there are reasons why he's bought Twitter that he won't say. I'd imagine he probably wants to have data on people, like we've spoken about before on this, like Mark Zuckerberg's companies like Insta, Facebook, etc., selling data and using data to help with political campaigns, etc. I'd imagine there's some sort of ulterior motive, but what he's said to the public, isn't it, is that a lot of the thing is he wants to bring back freedom of speech, and he feels like social media is massively censored. You know, you get people like Donald Trump who have their accounts suspended, and I get it, like Donald Trump, a bit of an idiot, but like he doesn't do any. You can't ban someone's account just because you disagree with their views. Like they had a thing, Twitter, that like an exclaimer at one point that would say on certain people's tweets, it would say this is likely to be false information or something. That's fine. If you want to put that under someone's posts, if you think they're spreading false information, but you can't, unless someone is like inciting hatred and inciting like wishing death upon a certain type of people or trying to incite riot, you cannot remove someone's social media and censor them effectively just because they have views that differ to your own.
There's actually, so I was literally just about to say that, because they've banned, I could be wrong, but I swear, because they banned like that Andrew Tate geezer, Donald Trump, a few others, but I'm pretty sure like one of like a prolific character in Al Qaeda or something still is allowed their account.
It's like, do you remember Tommy Robinson?
Yeah.
He founded like EDL and then he left EDL and set up other things that were a bit more like not far right, like he had a YouTube channel, etc. And he used to get thrown off everything and then would release statements just saying literally exactly that. Not that I agree with all of his views, but I did just find it funny how he would get thrown off everything, and he would just like use examples of accounts that like wish death upon certain religions and wish death upon like the kafars, as like a member of Al Qaeda would call a non-believer. And I do just think, Donald Trump's not allowed Twitter. Kanye West, I swear he's been thrown off everything now due to anti-Semitism.
Oh yeah, you got his.
Fair enough, but like you literally then have people that are inciting literal hatred and death towards different ethnicities, different religions, different countries, and that's just cool because as a left wing, you can only censor people of the right wing. You can't censor like anyone else
because maybe it's not happening, but that doesn't fit their political agenda to censor something because the people like Donald Trump and all that is having an effect on they think it's having an effect on their communities. So I was just getting a bit of conspiracy theory. I actually heard something the other day about that, saying, you just said about Mark Zuckerberg. Do you know when the US Senate or Congress or whatever, they try to pressure Meta into saying like, oh, you take all our data, you can read where we are and that. This geezer on this podcast was saying, he's like, he reckons all of that happens and then, not Mark Zuckerberg himself, but they turn around and be like, look, do you still want to know where terrorists are and you still want to find out all of these intel on that? And he was like, if you do, just leave us to do what we want to do, sort of thing. Yeah, there never really seems to be like more restrictions put on these. There's like restrictions, but there's always seems to be less of our privacy, if that makes sense. Like these restrictions get put in, but it seems that there's more and more that I'm trying to fucking articulate it here. Let's just cut this bit out. But yeah, like use like location services and all things like that. Like every fucking app uses your location these days, and that is again, that's a bit tinfoil hatty, isn't it?
The worst thing about those though is when like you'll click no and then they just won't let you on the website, and it's like, look, there's two doors, you can open both. You either say yes and you come through, or you say no and there's a brick wall. And I'll always be on these sites and I'll be like, nope. And then it's like, it just comes up a thing basically saying you can't access the website. So don't ask the question. Just say yes below.
Yeah, say yes or fuck off.
That's what I mean. Same as you're saying about like Meta helping find terrorists and whatever, using location services for this, that and the other. That's what I mean. There must be some sort of reason why Elon Musk has looked at Twitter and thought, I would like to buy that. I would like to use this for some reason. Because I don't doubt that a reason of it probably is that he does support free speech, because he does. And a lot of Americans in particular are always on about that freedom of speech, my amendment right, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, whatever it is. And I get that. And like Donald Trump tweeted already since he's taken it over, because he's got his account back, etc. I saw a stat, the N-word has gone up on Twitter since he bought it, like 88%.
Fucking hell.
Because
that's bad.
And this is the thing, this is the conversation we're going to get onto now, because we're speaking about freedom of speech. There's a fine line between having your freedom of speech and saying something that is racist or inciting hatred or inciting death upon a certain group of people or whatever. And I think in England we do it fairly well. Okay, so in England you don't have like freedom of speech to say absolutely everything you want in just normal life, I'm saying, not on social media. But you can say what you want while towing the line of not being racist, not inciting hate, not inciting terror, etc. Like when when like extremists get arrested in this country for stuff they've posted online, it's because you've got freedom to say what you want, but the minute you cross the line and you are inciting hatred, or you're inciting terror, or you're inciting a riot or something like that, that's when the UK says, like, no, you can't say that anymore. Whereas in the States, it is very much like, it's my freedom of speech, like you can say whatever you bloody want. And obviously you don't want to go to that extreme. So fair enough, he wants to stop things being censored online and give that platform as an uncensored platform, etc. But you've still got to ban people like internet trolls just spamming the N-word under like footballers' accounts and shit like that. You can't allow that sort of shit to happen. But giving Donald Trump his account back, great. Is the guy a bit of an idiot? Does he come out with some horrendous things? Probably. But can you remove his Twitter just because he has different views to you? No. Especially while there are literal terrorists that still are allowed a Twitter account. Do you know what I mean? So I think he'll do some good in that essence. But that stat I just read out to you, people are obviously looking at that thinking, right, what can we get away with now? And they're trying to sort of find, where's the line? Where can you cross it? He came out and said as well, something about there's going to be a panel that decides whether accounts and individuals should be suspended off that platform. And that panel is going to involve people who are left-wing, right-wing, centre, and they have to come to an agreement per each account. Not each account, but like I'm talking high-profile, people like Donald Trump, for example, someone that's high-profile. And that panel is apparently going to then deliberate on whether they can allow that person and their views on Twitter. I think that's good because you've got people then from all walks of life with different views, and if they decide together as a majority that that's fine or no, that's not okay, then accept it, I think. So I think that's quite good, rather than one PC geezer or one right-wing geezer on the other side of things having power over who gets suspended and who can preach certain things and who can spread certain views, etc. I think that's quite good.
Yeah. I think in America as well, though, it's so political. Whereas in England, you'll get, like myself, for example, I don't care too much about politics. I'm quite happy to just to sit in the middle. Like, my life's just going to
do nothing.
Carry. Yeah, like, I'll vote, but I'll go in and vote just for some randomer, just so I'm voted.
Do you vote?
Yeah, I do.
When
the election.
Sure you've told me you've never voted.
When the elections are on, I voted last elections.
Is that the first one?
Yeah.
Since you turned 18, you have had...
Oh no, I voted twice.
You've had Brexit.
I voted twice. I've voted twice since I've turned 18. But that's what I'm saying. But in America, it's so... They're called blue states and red states, I believe. So you've got Republicans and Democrats, don't you? Americans are more concerned about their child marrying someone from the opposite political party than they are of them dying alone. So they would rather their child die alone than marry someone of the opposite political party. And I think that's with America, like
I hear it.
The whole freedom of speech thing. But that's mad. Imagine you've got a fucking like Tory or something, or someone that supports what, and then they're like, what's Labour, another party. Labour. Imagine like your mum and dad are like, you fucking dare.
They would be doing me a service.
But it's so extreme in America that they are literally like religious cults in their politics. And I think that's probably why Elon Musk is so, obviously he's an American himself, but a lot of their accounts, they get banned and all shit. It's Americans, and it's that at the moment the left wing are taking over in America. So everything right wing, but there doesn't seem to be many people that sit in the middle in America.
Do you know what's funny though? Is I was going to say this anyway, but actually left wing people... And I'm talking like not just your normal left-wing person who has like slightly liberal views. I'm talking like your Corbyns, your left-wing terrorists, right? These people would have the world know that the left-wing is taking over, but actually it isn't at all. Like if you look at Trump's 2 elections, so he won one against thingy, what was her name?
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton. And he lost one to Biden, which he says he won, whatever, he lost, right? Both of those were very 50-50 because you can actually get more votes than the other person, but if you win more states, naturally you win the election, right? So even if it's the same in the UK, your party could get more votes, like Labour could get more votes in terms of actual counting votes around the UK than Conservatives, but if Conservatives have 300 MPs and they have 200 MPs at the end of it, you win, right? It happened with UKIP a few years ago. Do you remember when all the Brexit stuff was happening? Because that was like Nigel Farage constantly pushing for Brexit. He really brainwashed a load of people into voting for UKIP. And UKIP actually lost seats. They had like 5 MPs. They then went down to 3. But the amount of votes they got, they were coming second and third in so many counties and so many areas where they didn't before. So their votes skyrocketed. They lost MPs because they didn't have enough MPs that actually won. But the amount of votes they got was nuts. So it's a nuts concept that you can have more people that want that political party technically via votes, but actually you win it by having seats. And in America, it's worse than the UK. So it's 50-50. Like Trump lost, but the votes weren't like massively in Biden's favour. So it's still 50-50. It's the same as here. It's because things are censored, though. This is the same topic. This is the reason I brought it up. Like, do you remember Boris's election against Corbyn, and even Theresa May's election against Corbyn?
Like it was yesterday, mate. I've still got my journal upstairs.
All of the social media on every platform would have had you know that Corbyn was going to smoke them, like Labour were going to win by a landslide victory, blah, 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 because things are censored. And all you see on social media and pushed down your throat in the news is left-wing views constantly. Left-wing, left-wing, left-wing. When it actually then came to the election, normal people who don't tweet their whole life every day and tweet how much they love Corbyn voted for Conservatives, and Conservatives smoked them. Like, that's what I mean. Because of this whole censored thing, the world would have you believe that the world is going a lot more left-wing than right, but actually it's not. If you look at results of actual elections, if you look at what's happened in the last 5 to 10 years, it's not going that way. It's just that, are there more left-wing people that use social media than like centre people and right-wing people? Probably not. It's just that because things are censored, I think that sort of stuff gets pushed to you a lot more. But actually look at the results. That's my point. Does that show you that the world's getting more left-wing? No, because it's not.
I suppose if you take someone that's like me, that's not that political, like their understanding of what's like the far left and the far right, the far left, like you say, it's very liberal, and like the far right isn't. So the far left, the way the world goes, it seems to be edging more towards that. But like, it does get pushed down your throat a lot more in media, but it's like the whole PC world now. Yeah. I know there is aspects of that are good, but there are aspects of that are just fucking extreme. But a lot of those extreme aspects come from left-wing views. And that's why you think, like, it's... Do you know, it's Canada. It is now... I might have said this before. It's a legal, like, punishable offence. You can get fined if you misgender someone, regardless of whether or not you previously knew... Like, say you're trans male. I had no idea. You still look like a woman. And I was like, oh, she, so-and-so. They are well within their rights to report that person. And that's that far left view of fucking, regardless of who you are, you need to abide by my ideologies. But then I suppose the far right's like that as well, isn't it? That's the thing. But that's what I'm saying, in that sense, that it is going more towards the far left.
Far right and far left are exactly the same. They are exactly the same, just on opposite end of the spectrum. Normal people who are just left-wing views, right-wing views, they just have normal political views about how the country should be run. One more on left-wing, one more on right-wing. Left-wing people, like far left, terrorists, they will act the same as like far-right extremists in terms of beating people up, trying to force those views and opinions on everyone else. And it is a case of either you have my view and my opinion, or you don't get one. So they act in the exact same ways, and far left people will tell you that they're right to do so because their view should be blah blah blah. And what do you think far right people would say? Yeah. The same thing. They would say that our views are right because X, Y, Z, and this is why people need to adopt them. Blah blah blah. They have the same, but you couldn't tell them that because the far right extremist has certain views and they think the left are disgusting, and the far left think the right are disgusting, but the way they go about it is exactly the same, like terror, force, etc., like cancelling people if they don't have the right views. It's the same thing, just a different...
It's mad, isn't it? They have a lot more in common than they realise, but they're not willing to admit.
It's like, you know, I said about that story when I was on holiday. I saw anti-fascist posters, right? And I said, do you actually know the group Antifa? I won't get into it today, but blah, blah, blah. They are a group of far left extremists that want like far left views, but they will go to like a right wing rally or a conservative rally or something and just attack people. Like they basically will beat people up for having different views to their own. What does a right wing extremist do? Force their views on someone in the same way. They call themselves anti-fascism for beating up, and they beat up fascists who they call fascists, like conservatives, etc. What are you doing when you beat someone up who has a different view to yours unless they bend to your will? That's fascism. Like, that is literal fascism.
It's like extremism in it. It's extremist no matter what direction you look at him, but yeah.
But I think that hopefully, though, what he's trying to do is, hopefully he doesn't swing sort of one way or another, Elon Musk. I think he's just said that he wants both sides.
If he does swing both ways, you never know.
But I think he's just trying to give both sides a fair platform. Where at the moment, like you say, because everything's so censored on social media, it does only seem like people who are right-wing, whether you agree with them or not, it does only seem like it's those sort of people that are getting suspended, etc., whereas left-wing people aren't, and they're allowed to push their agendas, but they're not. And I think he maybe wants to just even up again. And again, don't get me wrong, if someone is inciting like literal hatred or inciting violence and terror, etc., then they shouldn't have that platform. But if someone is just, spreading their own political views, then they should be allowed to do so.
Yeah, I suppose it's where do you draw the line at hate, though, innit? It's like, so if, say, yeah, right, you got a terrorist, and I'm not trying to compare the two, but it's like, you got a terrorist and then you got someone that's really homophobic. It's like, well, okay, where do you draw the line on hate? Because it affects people in the same way. Like, someone that's homophobic, it's still, I can imagine it's quite upset, like, for like a gay community but it's the same thing. It's like you said, because it doesn't fit someone's political agenda. But then, where do you draw the line at who gets cancelled, who doesn't get cancelled?
Where you've got to draw the line is, I think people have got to accept that not everyone has the same opinion as you.
But people don't. People
can't accept that, but I think people need to accept that. So, say in that example, if a terrorist is posting about a certain type of people wanting to die and inciting hatred in that sense, like this goes against my religion or whatever reason, that usually terrorism comes from religion, right? So let's say that type of person goes against my religion, they should die, or people should take up arms against countries that not doing certain law or whatever. And then you compare it to someone tweets like, I don't know, gay people are disgusting or gay people are unnatural, whatever. They're preaching hate, and you don't have to agree with that hate, and not many people will agree with that hate. But the terrorist is actually inciting like death and inciting people to take up arms against whatever. If that then person said that, I don't know, homosexuals should die, I think that's where you then draw the line. You've now incited something. But again, I don't even necessarily agree with that, because you hear so many stories about when these accounts get banned or whatever, people are saying you didn't necessarily incite hatred or incite death or call people to do anything, but people have read your tweets and read your opinions, formed their own opinions on like homosexuals or on people of a different religion and taken action on it. And I get that point of view as well, because that person can say, but I've not asked anyone or told anyone to do that. I've just said that in my opinion it's wrong. And the other end of the spectrum can then say, yeah, but they've taken what you said as such and they've now formed those same opinions and they've now acted upon it. So it's a difficult one as to where to... My obvious thing would be, if you dislike someone and you speak about why you dislike it, or when you then cross the line... Have you done that?
Yes, come on.
Going up in the world. But when you then cross the line and actually call for people to take up arms against them, or people to hurt them, or people to do something, etc., that's where you draw the line. But then what I've just said sort of contradicts that, because someone can take what you post and do what they want with that information in the name of what you've said. So it's a difficult one.
But then, like you said, I think it should be like, it's rather a zero tolerance policy, or the whole freedom of speech thing, and you've got to let people interpret things how they interpret things. And like you said, you got to accept people don't have the same views as you. And it's weird, because I suppose people get brainwashed into these ideologies and things, and they, even if someone that didn't necessarily have those views before starts to think, well, this person's got a good point. And if you are that way inclined, and you do start to become like, oh yeah, fucking this person, yeah, wow, I agree with him, I'm going to go start writing or something over some sort of cause. And then it's a difficult thing to say it's good or bad, because I know personally, I can read something on it and be like, well, of course that's a fucking stupid idea. If I saw a terrorist tweet, I wouldn't be like, good point.
This is what I mean. I don't get how, though, people... Because you remember that whole crap that happened with Shamina Beijing, whatever, the
tried to get back to UK.
Like, the argument that, like, left-wing... Well, I say it is left-wing people, realistically. I wasn't going to tie them with that brush, but you know the people who are saying, like, it's disgraceful that you banned her from this country, she should be let back. Yeah. Like, she shouldn't. And I don't care whether she was 14 or 40. Like, when I was 14, again, like you just said, if a terrorist was posting, like, oh, you should do this, or you should hate this type of person, I don't get how people are so easily led to actually then go, oh, yeah, decent, I'll do that. Because unless I would get it if it was like a parent, but just some random person online, like I don't get how people are easily led this way, and that's why it's dangerous to toe that line in terms of what you allow to be posted. Because people can get groomed, etc. online. But you've also got to take a bit of responsibility. If you get groomed for something like that, you know, when you're a teenager, you do know right from wrong a lot of the time, and you can't always blame. There's probably something in you that agrees with that view anyway, surely, for you to then just take what is said as gospel and act upon it. I don't know.
I suppose maybe that's, from that point of view, if you was to look, maybe it's the environment people grow up in and that you don't know what, if she's not, that's like using that as an example, people that they don't necessarily have many friends, not very well socialised.
Oh, that was like you though, but you didn't get...
They're not very well socialised, don't have a great home life and that. People are more, because people want to attach themselves to something. And that's a big part of it, isn't it? If you look, I say, if you treat people like animals, like we are evolved, although it's a bit more common, evolved apes, like people want to be part of a community. If you're not part of a community, depending on how far gone you are and like how strong or resilient mentally you are, the more you're going to be inclined to just join whatever's willing to take you. And these people, they like groups of the far left, the far right, whatever organisations, they obviously know they know who they're talking to. They're not going to try and message me or you. Yeah. They're going to target someone that is there. They don't have much higher self-esteem and things like that.
I think that the social media companies, though, could do more about that. Like in terms of stopping people being able to, message underage people. They can obviously flag certain words, not just that you post, but also that you message people to see what kind of things you're up to. Like they should do more to stop that sort of thing from happening, as well as I think like parents surely know if their children are that way inclined to maybe stop using social media at a young age, and I don't know, but I think it'll be good because I think it comes back to politics a lot of the time in terms of they do use social media as a tool. We've spoken about it before. Most US elections, they're buying data from social media companies to try and push certain ads to certain types of people in certain states to try and win. And I think perhaps he is a better person to do it because Elon Musk has previously disagreed with Donald Trump on a lot, who's right wing, and he's previously disagreed with Trudeau, who's the Canadian president, who is liberal, like what you were saying earlier about being misgendered in thing. I think he's just a normal centre man who thinks a lot of what the right wing do is stupid. He compared the Canadian president to Hitler once and just said, basically, you're a fascist but left wing forcing these things. So, yeah. So I feel like he's probably just centre and he disagrees with a lot of what right-wing people do. He disagrees with a lot of left-wing views and he's just in the middle. And he's probably maybe a better person to stop censorship because he'll hear both sides of the argument, do you know what I mean, rather than just one. So I think it'll be decent for Twitter. But he's also... he's they're not exactly friends, but like he's said a lot about Mark Zuckerberg.
They're not talking anymore.
I don't know, but I don't know how much they spoke before, but he's like criticised Mark Zuckerberg loads about certain things. So maybe even he just wanted to buy it to like show him how much better social media could be run, I guess. I don't know.
Middle finger to Meta.
Yeah. And I think he probably wants the data and that sort of thing, but it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, something about that like elections thing. There was, I can't remember what election it was. I don't know if it was the one where Donald Trump got put in, but there was, or it might have even been like a local election. But there was a thing on Facebook that the campaign that put out Facebook ads got 90% more votes in specific areas where they put those ads out, because basically they were paying Facebook to put their advertisement out. How many billions of people use Facebook, or hundreds of millions or whatever, 2.9 billion. So more people were seeing those ads rather than the campaign that didn't put Facebook ads out. And the more money you spend on Facebook, the more Facebook will push your ads to the top of whatever's figures you want, sort of thing. So yeah, it's mad, like what a powerful tool social media can be if you want to sway. And that's those ads, if I'm right recalling this correctly, it's just something I was listening to. Those ads weren't even like propaganda ads. It was literally just like a vote for me, a vote for me ad. But because they paid so much more, their Facebook were just putting, and it wasn't even Facebook were doing it intentionally, but it's just mad to shut, like, how much social media can influence the way of the world.
It's so powerful. Like he'll use it himself for his own interests. Like didn't it happen a couple of years ago? You know, like crypto. Do you trade any in crypto? Like I've got a little bit, but not like I'm
not a fucking loser. That's why.
I know. I did it once. I put in a couple £100 like once a year, 18 months ago, like a long time ago, and I just thought that can just stay there. If it goes up, it goes up. If it goes down, it goes down. I just thought whatever. There's still money in there. Like it's gone down overall, but he did something though, Elon Musk, to make money. He tweeted something. I think it was Dogecoin. Do you remember that? He went through a stage of continuously tweeting about Dogecoin and saying that was going to be the next big thing. Loads of people then bought it. The value went up and he sold his. So he can use something like Twitter. He probably sees how powerful, like what you just said about the elections, etc. People can use social media for their own interest because so many millions and billions around the world have social media, and a lot of people in this day and age will take what is said on social media as news over watching the news. So I don't doubt that just like people use it for elections, whatever, he'll probably use it for business, and he'll get some sort of benefit out of posting certain things or allowing certain things to be posted, etc. And censoring maybe some topics that go against his business interests. Like there'll be something there that he's going to do. It won't just be about saving freedom of speech.
Yeah, everyone's got their own self-interest, don't they? But Sana, do you remember the GameStop thing? The company GameStop, sorry. It's an American company. But there was a thing during lockdown. So it's not very, it used to be, but it's not a very successful company now because of the digital age. Everyone buys games online and that. But Elon Musk, there was a thing. It's somehow GameStop per share become the most like valuable share on the stock market. Loads of fucking these crypto geezers and that were buying it, and the price kept going up and up and up. But it all come from Elon Musk. He put out a tweet saying like game stonks or something. You seen that meme with the geezer was like stonks. He put out that tweet and GameStop overnight went fucking mental. Last for a couple of weeks. People made like hundreds of thousands of pounds off of it, and everyone in like on the Wall Street, to put it into stereotype, but they had no fucking idea what happened. All these geezers that know the stock market inside out, like literally were just like, that's fucking mad. Just for someone on social media making a joke of a tweet. Same thing with that Dogecoin. Yeah. And that's any fucking idiot with a laptop. I say idiot, you do need to know what you're doing, but anyone with a laptop, like I could sit here right now and trade. And if you spend enough time looking at it and you're quite like active on social media, and you just look for all shit trends like that, yeah, it's mad.
But it's not even about, for someone like him, he doesn't need to trade. If you had his following...
I'm talking about the people that profit off his trades.
Yeah. But he profits himself. Like when he did that Dogecoin, he profited. He probably sold his coin. It was reported, I don't know if he ever came out and said he actually did or not, but he probably raised the value to sell it. Same as this game stonks. He could well have had loads of shares in it, tweeted that, value goes up like fuck and he sells it. He could do that about literally anything. If he had stocks in any company and tweeted something, it just helps. Like he can do what he wants in that essence. But anyone with that sort of following, like not just him, anyone could tweet. Like, you know how kids are over like even YouTubers and KSI and Logan Paul, etc. That whole Prime company that they have at the moment, they didn't even set it up. It was already founded. They then just put their name to it and made it successful. But they could tell kids to go and buy a certain type of crypto and everyone would buy it, and that's how the value goes up because loads of people are fucking buying it. It goes up, sell yours, and then boom, you made a profit. And that you could, with a big following like that, you could do anything like that, and then it helps to stay rich because you can, you know.
Man, he's a smart man. I think he's like the millennials billionaire, isn't he?
He's not. He is like he's in his 50s.
Yeah, but he's quite. So if you was to look like Jeff Bezos, geezer's he scares the shit out of him. He does. He's like a megalomaniac, isn't he? Bill Gates he's an old guy. He's not very. Don't think their companies are very up to date now.
Bill Gates isn't an old guy.
I'm saying he's an old guy.
He's dead.
Bill Gates,
the guy who founded Apple.
No, Bill Gates founded Microsoft. Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. I was going to say he's not old anymore.
But you don't look at them and think like, oh yeah, you're like a trendy guy. Whereas Elon Musk, like he's active on social media. He does He seems
he uses Botox.
He seems to keep up, and like, but him as a person, like Botox doesn't affect your personality.
No, I'm saying he looks young, but I get what you mean. Like he'll advocate for social media and things that
seems to be a lot more in touch with today's generation, which is where eventually wealth is going to transfer to. There's actually, I see an interesting. So do you know our generation is the first generation since the 1940s or 50s that hasn't done better than their parents. So since like the 40s or 50s, every generation has done better than their parents. So they've earned more money, bought more property, have more wealth. That we are the only generation since that time to not do better. Basically, it's down to a few things. I think there's a mix of a lot of young people these days think they're entitled to everything because the world's super unfair and that. But there is also that aspect of, well, wages haven't gone up at all. I say at all, but it's been very minimal increase. Property prices have skyrocketed. And
it's harder to do well now.
Yeah, it is. And there's also, if you look at like the wealth distribution, I don't know if this is like it across the world, but I know in like a lot of developed countries, you look at wealth distribution, like 90% of the wealth is divided between people from, I think it's like 50 and over. So they're the people that have all the stocks, have all the property and things like that. And you can't, until those people relinquish it, you, like younger people can't make, you can make money, but it's like through lockdowns and that. People that have stocks in whatever, or they've set up, they've bought more houses in the past, and they bought a house and it was cheap as fuck, paid off their mortgage, and they went and bought another property, got a mortgage on that as well, which a lot of older people did. Like, if you was a bit smart with your money, even people at our sort of parents' age, if they had a decent paying job when they were a bit younger, they could afford to buy a decent house, sell it on now, make a shit ton of money. And it's that the rich just... Sounds fucking like saying look at poor me, but the rich get richer. If that's, if you take lockdown for example, because where everything like went working from home and the cost of living started to go up and things like that, the people that are profiting from this are the people that already had a stake in the game, not the people that don't have any stake in the game, are just suffering as a result.
It is though what you just said though. The main thing there is the inflation, is like the cost of living, etc. Because inflation goes up at a higher rate typically than than the standard of living that people are actually receiving, and the cost of living goes up, inflation goes up, mortgages go up, let's say by 10%, but then the average salary's only gone up by 2%, for example. So even though your money goes up slowly, the cost of everything else goes up. So it is actually harder to do well. And don't get me wrong, if you put your mind to anything, you can succeed in any field now. And I do completely agree as well that there are a very large proportion of people in and around our ages who are just entitled and actually can't be bothered to get off their arse in the morning and go to work to try and achieve something. They'd rather just get something handed on a plate or have a trust fund from daddy, etc. So it is a bit of that as well. But also the inflation, like I was speaking to my mum the other day, and her... what do you call it? Her union have basically managed to... They're currently negotiating a higher pay for teachers. And apparently teachers are... She was telling me, I didn't even know this, but teaching is the only public sector which has had a pay freeze since like 2010. So you know where NHS, their pay will go up, and they still complain because it's only 2% or 3% or whatever, but it will go up. MPs obviously goes up, fire service, police, everything goes up. Teachers, the only state-funded area, they've had a freeze on pay increases since 2010, basically. And when I said something to her, which I usually say, I will have said it on this podcast before, she said something about, my mum said that they've managed to negotiate 5% increase and that the union aren't happy with it, blah, blah, blah. And I just said, you're not entitled to the 5%, you should be happy with anything, because you're getting a pay increase that you're not necessarily entitled to. Yeah, teachers work fucking hard, just like everyone works hard, but I basically made that point, which I usually do make. I will have said it on podcast before, about when people complain about a bonus or an increase or whatever, you weren't entitled to that. Like, it's extra money that you have now that you didn't have before. That's always my view on it. But she actually then said, but if you think about it, there hasn't been any pay increases since 2010, and inflation has gone up 25% since then. So the money that we're getting paid now is worth 25% less than it was 12 years ago, and we're only getting paid an extra 5%. And when she said it like that, I did actually think, no, I get that, because inflation's gone up at such a rate and cost of living's gone up at such a rate that you're still a lot worse off than you were in 2010. Don't get me wrong, you obviously will still get paid more if you get a promotion or whatever. But what I mean by pay freeze is you have different types of teachers, obviously based on experience and based on location. So basically those haven't changed. If you're a teacher with 20 years experience who lives in a zone 1 in London, you get paid X. And that amount hasn't gone up for the last 10, 12 years. And when she worded it like that, I then did actually think, yeah, I hear that, because again, if your money was worth 25% more 10 years ago and they're offering you 5% more, you're still 20% down. So I do get that, and I do think that the way inflation's going, something must be done at some point to slow inflation, or at least raise the national pay, etc., to help younger people afford these things. Because at the moment, me and Rhea are obviously looking for a mortgage. I've said about that before, but it's looking hard at the moment, like with the interest rates being fucked. Someone said to me the other day, they fixed their mortgage for 2 years. That came to an end. They had to renegotiate the mortgage rate, and they're now paying $600 more a month than they were before, which is crazy. Like that as an increase. If your mortgage is $1,000,
some people don't. Some people don't have that spare a month. Like,
no, of course you don't.
After you've paid out for everything else, that's fine. It's mad. It's weird, isn't it? Because I don't know the ins and outs of fucking what goes on in the Treasury and shit, or the Bank of England, and how they sort it all out. But it never seems, no matter how much everyone's like, it needs to change, new fucking government tries to come into power, we're going to stop this, we're going to do that. Things just go up and up and up. I don't understand it. I'm not going to try and give an opinion on it. But it's like, nothing's ever going to change.
All that seems to happen is when there's a good government, unemployment goes down, meaning more people are employed, and inflation and cost of living slows. It doesn't like stop or go down. It just seems to, when there's actually a government doing well and there's economic certainty and things are going well, it just seems to slow, but it still goes up slowly. Just
That's like I said, when we are the only generation to not do better than our parents. Like, I do think there are a lot of people that are just, sometimes they are just lazy in that. But I can imagine some aspect of it comes from, you just get to a point, you're like, what's the fucking point in trying? I've got a job, I cannot afford to move out, I might as well just stay at home. And it's like, there must come a point where it becomes very, very demeaning, demotivating even. I'm not saying if you try hard enough at anything, you can succeed in that. But for people that aren't of that mindset, and you can work on it and become of that mindset and that. But sometimes people must just look at it and think, fuck me, like, what is the point in trying anymore? I'm just fucked no matter what I do. I'm never, and especially, I was actually speaking to one of my clients about this the other day. He runs a company up in London, and he was saying it's not so much because it's a smaller company, so he still does a lot of people can work their way up and things like that. He's like, you go work for a big corporation these days, you're not going to go from the salesman to the CEO anymore. You go in as a salesman, and that's your job. You're just you're another number there. Your pay grade's never going to go up enough to make it a big enough incentive to stay there forever. And that's, job satisfaction's probably gone bottomed out as well for our sort of generation. And that maybe there is that grey area of that people feel like they deserved a lot more, rather than count your lucky stars. Like, is that the right phrase? Count your lucky stars? Yeah. That you've actually got a job and you're earning a living, because a lot of people aren't. But then at the same time, it's just like, where mental health is a much bigger thing these days than that, people do look at things and think, fuck me, like, what is actually being done to benefit me? And then that's my view, in the sense where, or my view, just like my opinion of it, where a lot of things are still run by the generation before us, and they don't see things out through our eyes. They think, I'm alright, I could afford a house when I was 20 because I worked so and so. You just don't work hard enough. And it's like, well, no, actually, you could put down a fucking 90% deposit when you was our age.
But this is the trouble, is back in the day, houses that are worth like 800k now, you could have bought for 150 20, 30 years ago. That's the thing. So that's how inflation's gone. Whereas houses are worth like 4 or 5 times now more than they were, but our salaries have only doubled since 30 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So that's the trouble. But I mean, you would you should have. We've got a new prime minister since our last podcast as well. I feel like we only spoke about the new prime minister
the lettuce lettuce outlasted, didn't it?
But yeah, the lettuce outlasted her. But you should have actually, as you're self-employed, right? Yeah. You should have benefited from some of the things that Liz Truss did actually for self-employed people. She they brought in rules.
Haven't they all been just abolished though?
No, but while she was there, I'm saying you should have. The IRS, and she basically relaxed rules that make it easier for self-employed people to tax evade. So it would have made them better off. So I can't remember what it was exactly. So I think something to do with IR 45 or what is it called? Let me look it up. Yeah, IR 35. It's just rules around basically self-employed people. Rules that apply, legislation that applies to contract workers who operate as a limited company but work for a third party as offering services to companies. So that won't. But when you had your own gym, did you not set up a?
No, still sole trader.
Oh, fair. So maybe not then. But so this is the trouble. Is she then made it easier for them to be financially better off, but then that doesn't help anyone else. That just helps that particular type of person. And then the other trouble you face is during that whole leadership election that Rishi Sunak lost, he was saying to her that most of her policies, like increasing the thresholds to have to pay tax, meaning you get more of a tax-free amount. She wanted to increase the tax-free amount so that we all pay less tax, etc. And all he kept saying to her is, you're going to put us into a recession. You're going to put us into a recession. And I just thought, okay, but what she's doing is going to help us in the short term, then maybe fuck us in the long term. What are you suggesting? We still go into a recession and don't get the help at all? Don't get anything changed? Because it looks like we're heading to a recession anyway, so what difference does it make? At least it will give us some time now where we're a bit better off to then be worse off later. I don't know. What do they do? It's their job though, not ours to. This is the thing. I look at it and like you just said a minute ago, surely something must be done. But I have no idea what they could actually do, because you lower our tax and we have more money. We'll then go face financial hardship down the line because the government are getting less tax to run the country, and government funded things like the police, like the NHS, like teaching, etc. goes downhill. And that's like decreasing tax, right? If you make certain things free for certain people who earn below a certain amount, like offer more benefits, that money will come along with increasing tax for some people who are better off, and they then have less money. So I don't know what the fuck would need to happen to change it, but ask Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, he's got all the answers. But yeah, so I'm not of that opinion. Like, I will happily work my ass off to try and get something out of life and that. But people that don't want that lifestyle and want to have an office job and just want to go through life, logging in at 9 o'clock, logging off at 5 o'clock, and that's all they do. They're happy doing that. It's great. That's what you want your life to be. But you're in that position. You're never going to be able to amount to a position where you can afford to have a self-sustaining financial independence.
But as someone who's single, not even necessarily single, like you could buy a house with a friend or a brother or something, or you just imagine that most people buy with their partner. But you can typically borrow like up to 5 times your salary. So if you're with someone, you combine your salaries and you can borrow up to 5 times. If you're a normal person our age earning like 30k, for example, 35k, you can only borrow like 180 grand. What are you going to get for that? You've then got to save up 20-30k for a deposit to be able to afford a 210k. You're going to get like a one-bedroom flat. You aren't going to be able to get anything nice or anything at all, really, and apart from like a dingy. But even then, if you're on your own income, sole income, it's harder to save, because when you're with someone, obviously, if you both save up 20k, you've now got 40. Like, you can now put down a deposit on a 400k house, and then you can borrow, when you combine your salaries, you can borrow 350, 400 instead of borrowing, 180, for example. So it just makes things a bit easier. Like, as a single person trying to buy their own house, it must be impossible at the moment, unless you earn a shit ton of money, basically. Or unless you have inheritance and you can put down a fat chunk. Because if you get left like 100k by a relative or something, that then you don't need to then borrow a larger amount, so you can afford more things. So it is tough, but Not sure how Elon Musk and Twitter will help.
It's tough. It's not impossible, innit? But that's it. Like you go on social media these days, and it's everyone like ramming it down your throat. Like, you gotta go out and get it. You gotta get this bread and
LinkedIn influencers, man.
Be like this strong individual. But the thing, all of this shit, yeah, it's great and have that mindset. But I don't think like I thought it's 90, probably 80% of the world's work. What the fuck is something outside this?
No, it was the cover for the Bri. It was moving, and I thought, what the fuck?
Oh, mate, it's Halloween. I shit my pants. I've got to sleep by myself tonight.
Like every night.
Yeah, not just tonight. Oh, someone come hold me. Oh fuck! What was I saying? The working population is never going to amount to that. As bad as it sounds, I'm not trying to put people down, but people don't like. There needs to be people that do the jobs that fill 90% of the working force.
Work in what?
Like the 9 to 5 office thing. But I suppose you're a bit because you do a lot of like commission based things, so your earning potential isn't. But people to get the yearly salary.
Well, that's the thing. That's the only reason I enjoy working in sales is because it is one of those few industries where, you know how you always say like, oh, if you can do anything you put your mind to, blah, blah, blah. And I agree with that to a point. But like if someone's working a job in London on 30k with no commission, no bonus, no matter how hard you work, you can't just go like, boom, I'm going to earn 50k now. Your job has to offer you more, or you have to be able to get a different job that's higher paying. The reason I like sales, the only reason I've stayed in it for this long is because how hard I work and how many calls I make and how many clients I get, etc., will correlate to being financially better off. So I don't even really care that much about my base salary. Like so many months I earn more than my actual base salary in commission. Don't get me wrong, I would like my base salary to go up because it is nice to have that net as well, that okay, if I fuck up this month I don't get much, then I've still got that. So I probably should try and negotiate like a higher base salary anyway. But that's the thing, is sales is one of those things where working harder,
you get out what you put in.
You know, you get out what you put in. And I'm not one of those for work longer and like, oh, you have to be in the office from 7 till 8.
Work
you can piss right off.
Harder.
Just while you're in the office, work fucking hard. You shouldn't stay late and you shouldn't start early. I'll never agree with that. But while you're actually there, fucking work, man. Like, work your ass off. Smash the phones. If you're sat next to someone who may even be a better salesman than you but makes 10 calls a day and you make 150, you're going to make more sales than me. It's just, sales is all about numbers. Unless you're like a real window-licking fucking boring geezer who cannot speak to fucking anyone, cannot hold down a conversation, you know, similar to this podcast, then obviously don't. But yeah, I feel like we always get onto like how depressing life is as a younger person trying to save and trying to earn money and trying to get work. I feel like we always end up...
It's a very, very prevalent subject though, isn't it? As young people, I feel like we've got a say in it. But that's like, I feel... Neither of us are really of that mindset, but it's very easy to see that if you like fit into that category, like how fucking depressed. Yeah, I suppose that's probably why like mental health is such a big issue, because life is just no matter what direction you look in. And so I said the other week about like if you're doing well in something you hate, imagine what you could do. But it's taking that, and people just get subdued into cruising through life because they're like, it's shit, but at least it's guaranteed, sort of thing. I know I'm not fucking enjoying it, but I'm still gonna turn up to work tomorrow. My job's gonna be there. I'm still gonna get paid 35k at the end of the year. Whereas sales, like you said, it's that bit more of a risk. And if someone hasn't got that personality, there's an aspect of things you can train 100%, but there is an aspect of, especially when it comes to sales and that, if you haven't got it, you haven't. There's people that are going to be amazing at putting in data, and there are going to be people that are amazing at getting that data. Like, sometimes people just don't fit. It's like the whole introvert, extrovert sort of thing.
It's not even just that. It's even like, I even think to an extent with intelligence in some aspects. Like, if you tried to train me to be a doctor for 6 years, I don't know that I'd be able to, like, I wouldn't make a good doctor. Do you know what I mean? It takes a certain type of person. And that's why when you want to study to be a doctor at uni, you have to get certain grades to get into uni, and then you have to get a certain grades to be taken on by a GP or by A&E doctor or whatever. And you have to go to medical. Yeah, exactly. And it's a long process, but I even think that, like, I think some things you can't teach as well. There's some people are naturally more gifted intelligence-wise than others, I think. Like, some people don't learn things well and some people can't do. But what you can always do is find something that you're good at. Like what you just said about sales and what I said about, if you get someone who just can't fucking hold conversation, who doesn't know how to speak to people and doesn't know how to get information out of people, then not going to make a great salesman, but you'll be good at something else. And like all of those people, like, do you remember in school, like we had people typically in like year 9, 10, 11, etc., before you even got to college age, would do like 1 day a week at college, people at mine anyway, that had low grades, and they would go and learn like plumbing, electrician, etc. And you sort of used to look at them like only the stupid kids went.
Mate,
people who weren't academic clever.
Plumber, electrician,
that's what I'm saying. Imagine those people now, if they have actually made it successfully into that field, how much money they're fucking raking in now. Like industrial plumbers, especially who work on big buildings in London, industrial electricians, etc. They can rake it in, and they weren't good academically, but they found something that they were good at, that they did enjoy, and they're earning fuckloads of money now.
I do think, obviously, there's certain aspects of like being a doctor or a fucking rocket science engineer, things like, there's certain like academia, macadamia nuts, fucking. You need it, but a lot of walks in life, like school, really isn't that important. It doesn't matter what you come out with, as long as you've got a passion for what you do. There's money to be made in anything. Go back to social media. That's a fucking prime example. Who would have looked back when it's like all this shit was coming out, like TikTok and Facebook, and who would have thought that you can literally just post videos on some platform and you become a multi-millionaire from it? If you've got a passion for something, not even necessarily a passion, it aligns with your values, sort of thing. It's like, you're a hard worker. This can be in any industry. You're a hard worker. You like seeing the like benefits of a product or things like that. If it motivates you and then it becomes your passion as a result, then yeah, there's money to be made in anything, isn't there? But to go back, yeah, some people do just get stuck in those office jobs. But then, like I was saying a minute ago, I think a lot of people do just become like subdued by that rat race. You just become part of that, part of the wheel. You're another cog in the system that keeps things turning. You turn up, you do your work, and you never really think to venture outside of the box. And I suppose you could put it down to confidence or your personality and things like that. But sometimes there's got to become a point at some for most people. I'm kind of going back on what I said a minute ago here, where you just got to be like, fuck me, like, what am I doing? I need to do something. Ask for a pay rise, look for another job, or something like that.
I agree, but not always that easy. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying that easy. I'm not saying.
And I don't even think it helps, because how we got onto this topic as well, about with the inflation going up and cost of living, etc. I don't even think, in a lot of cases, getting a better job where you paid a few extra grand more, etc. at the moment probably won't even help you that much. Like at the moment, we're in such a situation where it is so difficult to get a mortgage. It is so difficult for some people even just to get by. That something drastic is probably needed to, I don't know, increase the economy, boost people's pay, etc. So, don't know where that's going to come from, but old Rishi Sunak, maybe he'll do something about it now.
Right.
Yeah, good place to stop. As always, ending on that depressing note of how shit it is to be alive.
How shit life is. We'll do a Q&A next episode, and we'll make some funny things.
Yeah, we'll do. No, we're going to do a Q&A. We're going to do a video as well soon that's slightly different, a bit more sport related, which is quite cool. We've got a few ideas. We've got a few ideas of guests that we're going to get on, people from different industries, people who play sports, etc.
Yeah, we've had enough of fucking talking to each other now.
Yeah, because it always ends up on this same topic. But it is, a very prevalent topic at the moment because it is difficult. But
do you know what? It's like, you might say something one week, someone might watch it and be like, yeah, do you know what? So there's actually a quote, good shit sticks. So sometimes you say something, you might say it a slightly different way. Someone's like, yeah, that actually makes sense. It sticks. So like if you read a whole book, and you might only take in a few pages, but the few pages you do take in are things that actually resonate with you. So obviously these topics resonate with us, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about it. True. At the end of the day, another thing, I was listening to a podcast. Do you remember do you know that world tour guy that done...
Dom Goring.
Fuck Dom Goring. Richard Osman that done the Pointless show.
Oh, yeah.
So he was saying, he was like, whenever he's produced loads of TV shows and that, and he's like, I just make something I think I'd want to watch. And I'd probably watch this podcast, so...
I would. Probably not. I would.
Yeah, I fucking hope so, mate. You're on it.
But that is what, not even to end here, because going back to what it is when you do enjoy something, like, obviously we make no money out of this and get hardly any views and stuff, but because we enjoy it, it just continues. Like, we don't need to be making money out of it because we just enjoy doing it. Like, it's just a bit of fun. Same as like playing a sport, finding something you can enjoy. It is sometimes also a release to what can be a very stressful life. Playing sport at a low level, just because you enjoy it, because you're playing with your mates, doing a podcast with a mate, going out and getting violently pissed. You know, anything that you find that works for you.
Actually, 1 week pissed free.
Sobriety, yeah.
Hashtag change man. But yeah, that's, you know, when I speak to a lot of people, like when they say, oh, like, what's it like doing it now? It's actually just, it's not necessarily things you'd sit down the pub and talk about, or if you do, you're all pissed up and it gets high rated. It's good to just actually have like an intellectual conversation about random subjects you're probably thinking about all the time. Whereas this, yeah, it's nice. Gets oh fuck, I can't remember. Let's end it there because I was about gets your brain firing, doesn't it?
Gets your brain firing, yeah. Well, thanks for listening to episode 10.
Cheers. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.